Well, first of all, the number of infected cases is increasing, not just in Rajasthan, also in India, as you said. So it's still a matter of concern for us, and I think we can't afford to take our eyes off the ball. We've had some success in the district of Bhilwara, where patient zero was first identified. He was a doctor, and through him, the hospital had a lot of infections in nurses and paramedics and other patients. We did impose a curfew, but despite the curfew imposition, the number of infections kept rising. And that's when it was decided that we have to have a super curfew and a ruthless containment of all movement. I mean, if you have vehicles coming in and out, and sadly, all of us tend to use influence, or I know somebody, I'll get a pass, I'll move around. It breaks the sanctity of the curfew. So if you have to have a ruthless containment where nobody can move, no vehicular movement, no individuals moving around, we screened the entire city 3 times. 6,000 people were isolated because they were showing symptoms of influenza-like situations. And we quarantined quite a few people, had about 20,000 beds prepared in Bhilwara itself, should the situation get worse. And over time, the good thing is that a lot of the patients who were positive after treatment are now COVID-19 negative. So that's something that I think has worked, but it doesn't mean that we can now sit back and just think that it's all over, because there's a long journey ahead. We have to fight this coronavirus with all the might that we have at our disposal. But the idea is really to limit and isolate the incidence of infection, because once, God forbid, we go into third phase or fourth phase, then a country like India, it can hardly afford to have that situation. So we have to be positive. We have to work together. And I think now India is looking at statesmanship, is looking at the leadership of this country, whoever it may be, opposition, government, must work together and fight as one people to be able to overcome this massive challenge that faces all of us, all of humanity, in fact.
Absolutely. Can Bhilwara model work everywhere else? We've seen that it's become more, the phrase you used there, Sachin, ruthless containment, is attractive in its usage but not easy in its implementation, as you have yourself said. Now, we've seen 15 districts in UP, they're all talking Bhilwara model. 20 zones in Delhi, they're saying Bhilwara model. But I need you to tell all the viewers today, people talk of success in Bhilwara. People do not talk about the sacrifice required to achieve that success. What is that sacrifice and what is that commitment?
2 things. First, you have to trust your officers and you have to take people along. No curfew, no lockdown can be successful if people don't participate. If you violate the curfew and break the sanctity of the lockdown, there's no point having it. So we have to convince people that we are on the same side, we're fighting the same war. We rotated our doctors and nurses every 6 hours, and the administration actually made sure that the essential items of food grains and edibles were dropped to the doorsteps of all people who were under the curfew. So once you do that, it's painful. I mean, it hurts. It's not easy to have people locked down. There are all sorts of rumor mongering. There's also apprehension. You have to calm them down. We used to have those sprays, sodium hypochlorite sprays all over city and in the villages. Basically, you have to stop movement of people. It has to be voluntarily. If it didn't happen, then we had to impose a super curfew. So it takes a lot of, I think, oversight, a lot of management, and the supply chains have to be managed continuously, because we can't run out of essentials.
So can you do this
food items, milk.
Can you do this? Can you do this at a larger level? For example, can you do it in other places, or is this only possible in a relatively small town?